So you want to make $1 million in wholesaling real estate? Well, it is completely possible. And if you know exactly the actionable steps to do, and you know actually how to start turning your business making 50 grand a year, 60 grand a year, 70 grand a year into a $100,000 a month wholesaling real estate operation, it is not as complicated as it seems. And it's actually a pretty simplistic scaling system process that most wholesaling gurus are going to charge you $5, $6, $7, $8, even $10,000 to learn. But in this video, I want to break free all this crazy guru scaling mastermind stuff and actually share with you exactly the information that I use to be able to get hundreds of thousands of dollars every single month in assignment fees, my systems, who I hire, how I hire, so exactly how I can make $1 million a year in wholesaling real estate. So if you want to learn a $6,000 real estate wholesaling masterclass bootcamp today, absolutely for free, do me a favor, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe, and let's get into it. So if we go on the whiteboard here and we look at the big sexy number that we're all here to look at, $1 million. That seems like it's a lot of money. It seems like it's out of reach for most wholesalers to make in a year, but it's completely possible. The truth here is to make $1 million in wholesaling real estate, we need to not look at the $1 million. What do I mean by that? Instead, we have to look right here on the effort to make $1 million in wholesaling real estate. Now, I've said this mantra a million times, but action equals results. And yes, I have terrible handwriting. Deal with it. If we want to get any result we want in life or in wholesaling real estate, the result right here, which obviously the result is going to be a bunch of money. We want the money, like that's the result we want. We want that $1 million. We have to not focus on the result at all. We need to primarily put all of our effort in the action that is required to get the reaction of what we're doing. Think of it as the cause and effect. If you want the effect to happen, thinking about it and manifesting the effect to come into our lives is not going to be a thing. Me doing what I'm doing to make $100,000 a year in wholesaling real estate is not going to eventually somehow lead to me making $1 million. I'm going to have to take some dang action out here to actually get to that result. And so if this is our result, making $1 million, we don't want to focus on making $1 million. Yeah, that might be our goal, but stop looking at the result. Stop looking at the cash you want to make. Look at the actual effort it's going to take to make $1 million. And that's what we got to focus on today. So let's actually break down the math. If we were making around $15,000 a real estate wholesaling deal, which if you go to freewholesaling.com, you obviously can do that. Breaking down the math here, if we do 67 deals in a year at $15,000 a deal, we'll eventually make over $1 million plus. That's basically just the easy math that we got to understand. So that being said, now we can stop focusing so much on this $1 million. What we can start focusing in right now is the 67 deals. And you might be saying like, oh my gosh, Zach, I can't get $15,000 a deal. Well, if you can't get $15,000 a deal, you need to start focusing on the stuff that get there. You have to go after the actual motivated sellers, the list that actually takes to get to that level, and the lowball offers that we teach at freewholesaling.com, our free wholesaling real estate course. But overall, our main focus needs to be on these 67 deals. So if I look at 67 deals, that's roughly going to come in around about 5 to 6 wholesaling real estate deals a month. Now, this might seem a lot less stressful when we look at it, because when you look at $1 million, it seems overwhelming and something that's just way too big or insane to climb. But it's really not that difficult if you really look at it. 5 to 6 deals a month, which will come roughly around about 1.25 deals a week. That's really what the numbers, if it can really break it down to every single week, we got about 1 deal a week, and then some weeks we got to get 2 deals a week. And roughly that's not as complicated as it seems. All we have to do is reverse engineer the math now. One deal might be 30 hours of cold calling. Maybe it's 530 reverse trying for dollars. Maybe it's 5,000 postcards. What you need to individually do in your own wholesaling real estate business right now is do an audit of your own company. What is your primary marketing? And usually for your marketing and your lists, how many cold calls, postcards, texts I got to send out to get one real estate deal? Then all we got to do is basically multiply that by the monthly basis what we want to do. So for example, if I look at 5,000 postcards, 5,000 postcards probably going to cost me around $2,500. Now, if I do it right, I can probably cut it down if I go to mailingmastery.com to around $2,000. And that's not terrible, right? That being said, if I have to spend $2,000 per deal and I want to get 5 deals, I'm probably going to have to drop $10,000 a month in my marketing. Now you might say, to make $1 million, I got to spend $100,000. That's probably not good. That's fine. We don't have to do the postcards then, right? It's up to you which one you want to do. 530 reverse drawing for dollars, that might cost me $200. And that means my budget, if I'm doing 5 deals, is maybe $1,000 a month. To make $1 million, that's not bad at all. But you got to remember to yourself here, that might be 60 hours of work. So is that worth it for you? You're going to have to mix and match here based on your money budget and your time budget. If we're looking on how we are going to make a plan of attack to make $1 million a year in wholesaling real estate, all we got to look here is time and money. When we're creating our budget, right? So we have time budgets and money budget. How much time every single month can I put into wholesaling real estate? Now you might say to yourself, Zach, I could put 50 hours a week into this business. Now, if you figure out you can only put 50 hours a week into wholesaling, you're probably not going to make $1 million if you're doing it all by yourself and you're just basically doing it solo. That's a very difficult task and very difficult thing to do. Now, if you go off the money thing, you might, because you're only doing that many hours a week, you might have to drop 7 to 8K a month in marketing because you're going to do postcards, which don't require as much time. Now, instead here, let's say you have a team of VAs cold calling and they're able to give 350 hours of marketing effort every single week. I could probably drop this to maybe 5K. And if we do it really well, maybe 3 to 4, but it's probably going to be a lot more expensive if we're doing skip tracing, list polling, but maybe if we're doing reverse drawing for dollars, it could be a lot better. The honest truth of what I'm trying to convey to you here is when you're trying to make $1 million a year, you got to do stuff that it takes to make $1 million per year. And so really just create a multiplier in your own business. And really for anybody that comes to me and says, Zach, I want to make $1 million a year in wholesaling, this is the simple solution you just have to do in your own head. This is going to be my $1 million a year action plan. All right, here's going to be our action plan. I'm going to get an M. What's my action plan going to be? Step 1, we are going to map out our schedule. We're going to map out what do we do on the average day in our real estate wholesaling operations. Maybe you're part-time, maybe you're full-time. But if you're legitimately serious about making $1 million a year in wholesaling real estate, you got to do this first step. Map out what your day is like. How much money do you spend in marketing? How much time do you put in this business? How much time you put in acquisitions, dispositions, marketing? You got to map the entire thing out. I don't know what you feel like or what you should do. Do what you actually do for an entire week. Just map it out. Then number 2 here, this is a big one. We're just going to look at what our income is. So all we're going to basically do is kind of do a little analysis here of how much effort we've put in and how much money we've made from that effort. That'll tell how efficient you are. For me, I'm only working 4 to 5 hours a week in my wholesaling real estate operations and making millions of dollars. How am I able to do this? Because I have employees who are doing most of the work for me. So I'm very efficient with my personal time. Now, when I was doing it all myself, maybe working hundreds of hours a week, close to like 100, 105, my income was a lot lower, but I was doing a lot of the manual work. So we got to figure out what our income is and how much time we're actually putting into this business. Now, number 3 here, this is really important. We're going to figure out exactly how much effort we got to put in. So what we're going to do is divide $1 million by our income. So $1 million divided by $1 million divided by our current income. That is going to equal how much effort I need to take in the coming months and future to actually get to this $1 million. So let's plug in some numbers really quick. Let's say I'm making $150,000 a year in wholesaling and I want to figure out what do I got to do to make $1 million. I'm just going to divide $1 million by 150,000. $1 million divided by $150,000 is 6.67. This basically means whatever I'm currently doing in wholesaling, I need to multiply my marketing efforts by 6.67%. That means if I'm doing 100 cold calls every single week, whatever I need to do, I need to multiply that by around 7%, which means roughly I need to do 700 of those cold calls a week. So let's say I'm doing 1,000 postcards every single week. If I want to get to $1 million, I'm most likely going to have to do 6,670 postcards every single week. It's pretty simple. We figure out what our daily tasks are and how much time we put in this business and how much our income is. And we got to feel like we got to multiply our income by this much. We got to see how much time we're putting in this business too. And now, if I'm working 30 hours a week and I got to figure out I got to multiply my income by 6.67%, that gets a little tricky, right? I mean, doing the quick math here, that means I'm going to work 200 hours every single week, which is basically impossible. That's 28 hours a day. That's not possible. But what I can do instead is I can still work the same 30 hours and just add employees to work in that business. So that means I need around 170. So that means probably means for me to get this income level, I'm probably going to have to add 4 VAs. And you might ask yourself, what do I need the VAs for? And what do they do? What's their tasks? Well, think about your mapping out your daily tasks and dispersing that extra effort, that extra 170 hours in the ratio that you're currently working. So my best guess is probably going to be 2 marketing VAs, 1 cash buyer cold calling VA, and maybe a junior acquisitions agent, possibly even an acquisitions agent, but most likely somebody who's just going to follow up on the leads you currently have. That's pretty much what that is. And that's how you're going to get your action plan to make over $1 million a year. It's really not that complicated. From there, we're going to make our own real estate wholesaling action plan to make $1 million and then just execute on that plan. Making $1 million per year is not as complicated as it seems. If you just figure out what your current income is right now, and then seeing how much more you have to multiply your business to get to $1 million, then you proportionately multiply your marketing efforts, your acquisitions efforts, your dispositions efforts by that ratio. It's very hard not to make $1 million per year in wholesaling. And yes, we only have 40 hours a week of work. So if we want to get to 200 hours a week of work to get $1 million, here's the secret in wholesaling: we hire employees to do that. If you want to learn exactly how to hire employees, where to hire employees, and most importantly, how much to pay them or even how to train employees, just go to freewholesaling.com, my free real estate wholesaling course. I'll show you exactly how you can get started in scaling up your operations to over $100,000 per month. I don't have enough time in this video for it, but I'm telling you, it is worth it. And it's not a simple process where you hire all these employees in one day and the business just starts shooting off. It's a very, very slow process, but it's a process that I know will lead you to wholesaling real estate success. Guys, if you got any value from this video, do me a favor, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe. Once again, go to freewholesaling.com and I'll see you soon. This is Zach Ginn signing out. Have a blessed one.